So welcome to week 15. This is our last class that we're going to be practicing to, especially on this live Zoom class. You will always have those other classes that have been recorded this semester available to you on YouTube. So you can also follow that YouTube channel to get the access to all of these classes for future reference, or if you happen to not be able to take the classes for spring semester or even in between. So if you've developed a routine and a good habit for yourself of practicing in the mornings, especially on these Tuesday mornings, then after your final exam next week, then the final or the other weeks following that, you may want to just like pop in some of these videos and maybe it'll feel like just your regular semester. So hopefully it's been helping you. So this week we are going to be getting into a different style of yoga. This particular style of yoga, known as restorative yoga, actually says it in the name that we're intended to restore. And so what we're trying to restore are our energy reserves. Every time that we feel depleted from 2020 to anything that might be on a physical basis, this is going to be a very restful practice. And we're going to be doing a total of 5 poses the entire time. With that, there are not going to be any sun salutations. We're not going to be doing a whole lot of movement, and we're going to be holding the positions for a lot longer. As we're holding these positions, we want to make sure that we're also not feeling a stretch or doing it for the purpose of strength and balance, that we want to be in these restful positions. So think of that as we're going through the practice, that, like if you're feeling an intense stretch in certain parts of your body, that you may need to arrange your props to help you so that you're not feeling that much of a stretch. And so another key aspect about this particular practice is that we're going to be using props. And we've been using and introducing props all throughout the semester. So things like your straps, blocks, your towel. But we're going to be introducing a few new props to this practice today. And if you have a wall or something that's taller and very vertical and sturdy, that is going to be your preference. So I'm going to be demonstrating using this bookcase, which is actually very sturdy, and the shelf is very thick. So I'm going to demonstrate a little bit on this one. I'm also going to be demonstrating on the couch, which is over here. And so if you have a couch that's nearby, or even your bed, or some other type of table that is very sturdy, we're going to be doing some legs up the wall pose with that. And then also introducing blankets to the practice. I'm not sure if you've been using them this entire time. You're like, oh, corpse pose, I'm just going back to sleep. But with the use of blankets, we're going to be using them to help to support the body. And that's the intended purpose of these props, is to provide support and that sturdiness of structure so that you can relax and melt into the posture itself. So we've been using, the ground in our corpse pose. And that is a very sturdy and stable structure for the most part. So like that, we're going to be introducing bolsters, if you happen to have a bolster, or body pillow or something of that nature. And we're improvising because we're doing this from our own home. If you were to go to a yoga studio, then you would probably have most of these props available to you and have this a little bit more of a traditional practice with it. But, it's 2020. So with that in mind, those 5 poses that we're going to be doing today, you're going to be seeing similar postures to what we've been doing. They are just modified and shifted a little bit so that we can enhance the practice of what we're doing today. And then we've also been doing another practice, or we've been doing one of these poses this entire time. And this posture is corpse pose. So corpse pose is one of the ultimate restorative postures. You hear her protesting her nap right now. And there she goes. Anyways, so with this practice, we're going to be doing some corpse pose. We're also going to be introducing 2 new poses that you're going to be responsible for knowing for your final exam next week. And one of these poses is reclined bound angle, and then legs up the wall pose. And we're going to, use parentheses for wall. So we're going to use whatever it is that we have available to ourselves. And then we're going to do a twist. And then if we have enough time, we'll be doing a little supported child's pose. So try to keep yourself as warm as possible. If you have extra layers, use those. And it might be helpful to watch me set up the postures and the props first, and then you can get into those poses and I'll lead you through it. So we'll be holding these for mostly about 10 minutes each. So you'll have plenty of time to rest and get into the postures. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and start. We're going to start off with our corpse pose. So with our corpse pose, grabbing, if you have your blanket, okay, if you only have a blanket to work with, you're going to fold it up in a way so that it's going to be about as long as your mat and kind of nice and thick. Okay, so you want it to resemble a little bit more of that shape of the bolster. And you'll place it towards the bottom half of the mat, and you'll place your legs directly on top with your knees over the blanket. Your feet are going to be draped off across onto the mat, and you're just going to have this supported position for your knees. You'll lie all the way back, but I'm going to actually be using my bolster for this one. And if you have a pillow or bolster or something similar, what you can do is use the blanket to lie across your tummy. And with the belly, this particular area tends to get very chilly, especially because we do lose a lot of heat that way. So if you place that over your abdomen, you can see, kind of setting up for this. So right now I have my knees draped over the bolster. My hips are going to be on the floor. My feet are down on the mat as well. I'm going to adjust my pelvis so that it feels more comfortable here. And then I'm going to take the blanket and just lay it across my belly. Okay, so you have some options for what you're going to be doing with your hands. You can rest your hands on your abdomen, maybe your arms down by your sides in this traditional corpse pose. And so if you haven't already, go ahead and set yourself up so that it looks very similar to what I'm doing. And you'll bring yourself with your head facing straight up, your eyes closed. And you can use your towel. I can find mine. Or if you have an eye pillow, you'll cross that over your eyes and give yourself another opportunity for that rest. So the towel helps to block out any of that external vision and helps to encourage that internal vision that's happening. And then your eye pillow does the same thing, but adds the benefit of the weight. And that weight feels really nice, especially on those muscles of the eyes. And if you've been staring at screens for quite a bit, it should help to relax and ease those muscles. So once you find your place, start to make some slight adjustments. Maybe walking the shoulder blades so that they're flat underneath you.
Mama,
Your feet are going to be on the floor, your hips heavy, your head resting softly. Take a full breath in through your nose, let it fill up into belly, chest, and low throat. And exhale, throat, chest, and belly. Once more, breathing in a little bit deeper, filling into the belly, chest, and throat. and easing the breath all the way out and down. Full breath in. And deep breath out. Good. Another full breath. And deep breath out. As we continue to just drop into this moment, I want you to take notice of what you're experiencing right now in your body, what you're experiencing in your energy levels, your heart, your emotions, what you're experiencing in your mind. And so I'll walk you through that. And what we're experiencing in our physical body might feel like the muscles, the bones, the joints where the bones connect, and all of the connective tissue that joins everything together. I'm just noticing if there's a sense of soreness, if the muscles feel relaxed and at ease, and possibly if there's any tensility that's there, any tension that you might be holding on to, resisting. It might feel like you're being challenged to relax and find that ease, and that might be from the standpoint of protection, to protect something that might be achy or sore or in pain. It might be something where you're experiencing that tensility from overuse. Maybe it's a lack of motion and underuse. I'm just recognizing these aspects of your physical body right now. And trying to do so without any judgment, without any criticism, without labeling as good or bad. It just is. And continuing to breathe back into your body and all the way out. And then noticing your energy levels of your body. This is sometimes has this varying range from feeling absolutely depleted and empty to feeling good and awake, alert, and conscious of what is happening, to possibly being frantic and anxious, nervous, and hyperactive. Almost like you feel that you are buzzing. And some of these energy levels are in relation to our sleep. If we just come off of sleeping, or if we haven't had enough sleep, or even possibly related to our food and our intake of that food and beverage, a drink. And sometimes the drinks or the food that we eat can make us feel rather frantic and high energy, something that feels caffeinated or sugary. And just recognizing where you are right now. Again, not with any judgment or labels, just acknowledging and taking it in. And taking a few more of your deepest breaths. And starting to notice your feelings, your emotions, and just recognizing where your heart is. This might be possibly even a neutral place, depending on where your mind has been. Because a lot of times that what we're thinking about can play an impact on our emotions, how we're feeling. If we think about something that makes us happy, we feel happy. If we think about something that makes us sad, we feel sad. So right now, without thinking about anything else, just see if you can notice what you might be experiencing right now, which might be a type of residue from previous thoughts. And even noticing those other little feelings that relate to this particular aspect or layer of our body, which are the koshas. And noticing our feelings of hunger and thirst, and any other bodily functions. And these relate to, very similar to our emotional feelings. And taking a few more deep breaths. And now noticing your mental body, your thoughts, and the nature of your thoughts. And even noticing the other qualities of your thoughts, like the pace and the rhythm. Maybe there's no rhythm and it feels that your thoughts are rather scattered all over the board. Maybe there is a rhythm and it feels like the thoughts are very cyclical. and that you've thought these same thoughts once before, and you continue to think about the thoughts. And in this process, we ruminate over these thoughts. And the word ruminate comes from the base word for to chew. And in a way, our mind chews through these thoughts as a way to break them down into more digestible pieces so that we can better understand what it is that we are feeling, what we're thinking, what we need to know, and what we need to do. I'm just noticing if the thoughts might feel continuous, like a streaming river, flowing right through one to the next. There's a speed where it feels like a gentle trickle, or perhaps if it feels more like raging rapids. And then noticing the nature of your thoughts. And perhaps if you're thinking of the past or future things that will be coming up soon. Maybe you're thinking about exactly what we're doing right now and possibly apprehensions and more simple enjoyment. Just trying to recognize your thoughts, again, without judgment, without labeling them as good or bad, and just accepting them for what they are. And taking a few more of your deepest breaths. And from where you are, if you have something covering your eyes, gently remove it. Flutter the eyes open and let in light again. Orient yourself to where you are. And to come out of the pose, I want you to bend your knees one at a time, placing your feet closer to your body. You're making adjustments through your pelvis to feel more neutral and relaxed there. Just take a moment as you settle in. We're going to gently roll over onto our side. And then we're going to make our way up to a seated position. So rolling over as we've been doing, pressing top hand into the ground and easing your way up to a comfortable seat. All right. Okay, how are we doing? Good things? Yeah. Okay, so for our next posture, this is one of the ones that you'll need to know, and this one is your reclined bound angle. Now, reclined bound angle is very similar to one of the other postures that we've done previously in this class, which is bound angle. So this just adds the reclining element to it where you're going to be on your back, or as we say, supine and supta. So with bound angle, just as a refresher for you, bound angle is with the feet together and the knees bent, and you have this type of diamond shape. And so we're going to be lying down on our back with this shape with our legs exactly as they are. If you have your blanket, so I'm going to provide the suggestion for this. You're going to actually fold up the blanket a little bit differently, and you want it to be a lot longer and more noodle-like, because we're going to make it into a U shape. So you can see how I've got the blanket. I'm going to roll it up in that way and try to roll it up like a U. I've got the U in this shape here. Okay. And with the U shape, we're going to actually bring our feet to come to the mat yet again. And this time we're going to have our knees stacked over the blanket, and we're going to have part of that U shape supporting the outsides of our thighs. Okay, so you can see how the blanket and my thighs are going to be resting right on top of that. Okay, then we'll be reclining all the way back. I'm going to actually use my bolsters for this. So if you happen to have two pillows of the same size, would be ideal. If you have two pillows of the same size, you'll create a V shape with your bolsters. Again, just the same idea. We're going to be supporting the thighs. The feet are going to go to the outsides or the other side of the bolster, and you're going to recline all the way back. I'm going to put the blanket on a little bit later so you can see what this looks like as I'm reclined. So here are my knees. My legs are resting right on top of the bolster. I have my pelvis so that it feels really flat. And you're going to feel this mostly from the back side, but you can also feel this from the front side to the front of the pelvis. Okay. And I'm going to place my blanket directly on top of my belly because this fireplace is actually rather drafty. For the remaining portion, for the other part of our body, we're going to be working on our arms, and I'm going to introduce a couple new variations that you can do in your corpse pose or any other reclined position. These two variations might be a little bit intense for some of us, especially if you have any type of shoulder injury. So you're always welcome to have your hands resting on your abdomen or in that downward V shape. Okay, but with this, you have your option of coming into double diamond, and this double diamond is creating a diamond shape with your arms. So your elbows are going to be bent. Your fingers are touching, your thumbs and index fingers, or you can have one hand stacked on top of the other. You're going to rest the arms up and overhead. So you've got a diamond shape with your legs. Okay, so as you can see there, diamond shape with your legs and a diamond shape with your arms, creating that double diamond. Now for me, this is very intense and actually is giving me a bit of a stretch. And so I would not do this particular position for the long period of time because that's not what our intention is for today. But in the future, if you find that that's what you're looking for, you can definitely incorporate that into your routine. So the double diamond. Then you also have the option of coming into field goal post, or this 90-degree angle, almost like they describe as cactus arms. So you'll place your arms down along your sides with the hands resting on the floor. Okay, so feel free to come into whatever shape or position for your arms is appropriate. And you can once again place a towel over your eyes to promote that internal guidance. And so once you find yourself all the way in reclined bound angle, again, make those subtle adjustments to get even more comfortable, even more relaxed. And then again, breathing into belly, chest, and throat, and easing the breath all the way out. And some of the benefits for this posture is that it helps to open up the pelvis. And this pelvis is carries a lot of symbolism behind it. It is symbolic. The pelvis actually in Latin translates as basin. That this basin or this bowl of water, liquid, fluids supports our fluid energy through life. And if we're feeling like we're being very stubborn, that we're being presented with lots of obstacles, and these obstacles are literally stopping us in our tracks, you might be having a few areas where this natural fluidity is feeling that it's lacking. And so we learn to adopt and have a lot of this fluidity as we learn to practice this letting go of control, letting go of held on to or stubbornly held on to beliefs, ideas, plans sometimes too. I'm just learning to find ease. And just breathing in and breathing out. Recognizing where you might be bumping up against those obstacles. Maybe it might be a reoccurring basis. It feels like the same thing happening time and time again. Maybe this is a new challenge, an obstacle that you're still trying to figure out how to navigate through, around. Remembering to continue to relax. You might be holding on to other parts of your body. And especially as we think about those obstacles, sometimes we get into that protective mode. We clench our mouth and jaw, we furrow our brow, we make fists, we hold our shoulders. Remembering if you are feeling a bit of a stretch, especially in the groin area here, to make whatever adjustments that you need to make to prop up the thighs so that they feel supported. They're not having gravity with its impact on the stretch. And taking one more deep breath here. If you have something covering your eyes, gently removing that. And to come out of this pose, we're going to use our hands to help our legs squeeze back together, but it helps to slide one foot at a time even closer to our body so we can actually hold on to those legs and then gently lift the knees up towards each other. Take a moment to let the feet settle down onto whatever you are, maybe it's your blanket or if you have your bolsters there or pillows, and feel how the thigh bones sink down into the hip socket. You want to feel that neutral position after we've been rather externally rotated for a bit of time, and just give the body an opportunity to kind of get into that rest. And then slowly tipping over onto one side, being careful if you're propped, you're going to press into the ground and gently ease your way up. All right. So by now, are we feeling really relaxed? Yeah. Yeah, it's a good practice, isn't it? All right. So the next part of this practice, we're going to be doing some stuff that's going to be facing downwards. With these positions, we're going to come into one that is something that you've done before, which is a child's pose using our bolster or our blanket. So I'm going to show you what it looks like with the blanket. You're going to want to have your blanket where yet again, it's going to be long and then thicker, okay? And we're going to set it up lengthwise along the mat, okay? And for that, you're going to have your knees so that it frames the outside of your blanket. My toes are touching, my big toes are touching, and my knees are in a pretty wide V shape. I'm going to lay my belly across the blanket and just turn either my head to one side or place the head facing down. I'm using a lot of the support from my elbows for this one as well, especially if the blanket is not thick enough to keep you lifted up. Okay, so it looks a little bit like this. Okay, if you're using your bolster, you can use several bolsters if you have them. You can try one, it'll look like this, or you can even try two for an even more supported position. And yet again, we're looking not for any type of stretch here, although you might feel a little gentle release in your low back, okay, especially for some of us who do have really tight low backs. But we're not going to be holding this one for as long because of the nature with those knees being folded as they are can feel really, it can cause the legs to go numb sometimes. So we'll just be here for a moment or two. So if you haven't set yourself up, just go ahead and get into that. I just want you to snuggle in, get close to whatever it is that you're cuddling up with. And just take some deep breaths into belly, low back. And just start to notice how different it might feel for us to do nothing, for us just to be lying here breathing, just experiencing where we are. And there's this Italian concept that they have a phrase for, which is la dolce di fare niente, and it translates as the sweetness of doing nothing. And it's a hard concept for a lot of us to be able to embrace, especially if we keep ourselves preoccupied, if we feel that we are constantly busy or we're making ourselves busy. We might even feel ourselves, in a way, attaching most of our self esteem and worth to how productive we are. And if we feel that we are unproductive, if we're unsuccessful in what we're trying to do, if there's no product, if there's no finale, that we feel that it might be a waste of time, and we miss out on a lot of the joys of just being alive, that we aren't always just here to do, that we can be here for just being. In fact, that's exactly what we are, human beings. And that this constant doing, 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 although it can make us feel important, needed, necessary, desired, we miss out on a lot of those joyous occasions of just experiencing. And that's why it is so sweet to do nothing. And for some of you who had your good experience with the coloring meditation, you realize that it wasn't about the final piece, the finished product, that no matter what it looked like, as long as you were with the process of coloring, which might have been choosing which colors or staying within the lines, or developing a pattern, or the experience of just being, coloring, and feeling that and being one with your thoughts might have been eye-opening, revealing of kind of the nature of who you are or how you've been lately. And so give yourself the next few moments to just do nothing and see if you can embrace that, enjoying it. And taking one more deep breath wherever you are. You'll slide your hands back a little bit, press down into the ground, and gently lift yourself up. Carefully remove one, or if you have one bolster there, just keep it exactly as it is. We're going to turn ourselves to face in the other direction. So facing ourselves back. Let's get my earbud back in. So we're going to have our bolster set up in the same way, our blanket, and we're going to face away from it. And I want you to turn your knees over to the side so that the knees are going to be stacked, one on top of the other, and the feet are stacked. You can have a 90-degree angle, but this might be a little bit too much for some of us. So just keeping our feet tucked in might feel more comfortable for you. And again, you want to still have your hips on the ground, not on top of your blanket or your bolster. So this next one is a twist, and so it's going to have two sides, and will be a little bit shorter on each side. So we're not going to do the full 10 minutes on each side. And I'm going to have you go through different levels based on what you feel comfortable doing today. So the first level for this is going to be a side lying position. So you're going to situate yourself so that you're lying on your side. You might have a pillow here for your head to be resting on top of. Good. And then you have your top hand that's going to be resting on the ground out in front of you. Okay. So this is the first level of intensity for this position. The second level is going to be incorporating this downward facing twist. Okay, so for this downward facing twist, you're going to turn your belly to be facing onto the bolster or blanket. I'm going to move my earbud again. I'm going to bring my face to be facing the same direction of my knees. And my belly is kind of rotated down. And yet again, my hips are going to be on the ground, not on the bolster itself. You can notice how my elbow is bent and my hand is just resting on the ground. The same thing is happening for my other arm that's on the other side of the bolster. Okay, so you also have one more added little twist if you'd like to. This other twist is by turning your head in the other direction of your knees. And so you rest your head in that way. If it feels okay for your neck and doesn't feel like too much of a strain or a twist there, I just want you to give yourself a few moments in this gentle twist. I'm going to put the blanket back over my legs and belly again. If you happen to have that, you can give yourself that extra warmth also. And just breathing into your belly, your chest and throat, noticing how the stretch changes, or how, excuse me, not the stretch, the breath changes where it's moving. So you turn our belly facing down, we might be feeling it in the side waist, in the ribs. You might be feeling it in our low back, mid back differently here. And just feeling that ripple of the breath as it flows from the belly up to the throat. And cascades all the way back down. And just continuing to breathe a few more breaths here. Good. So if your head is turned in the opposite direction of your knees, you're going to want to slide your hands back, press your hands into the ground, and just gently bring your head back to a neutral place. If your head was turned towards the same direction of your knees, you'll do the same thing just until the head is more neutral. We're going to make our way all the way up and then change direction. So you'll sit facing away, knees turn up, and then they just tip over to the other side. And again, you have your options of side lying here, moving into the twist with the cheek facing same direction of the knees, or the cheek facing in the opposite direction of the knees. And so get yourself settled in. I'm just noticing this gentle twist and how it has this really important job of adding stimulation and increased circulation to those inner organs of our body. The ones in the deep abdomen, like our pancreas, our liver, our kidneys, and large and small intestines. And as it provides this extra dose of circulation, our longer, slower, deeper breaths are adding more oxygen to the blood. And so just feel like you are flushing out and just revitalizing these organs that may not get a lot of your attention unless there's something wrong. Two more breaths here. And very slowly sliding the hands back, pushing yourself up, bringing your head back to neutral. All right. And so for this next position, this is going to be our last position. Time has flown by quickly, hasn't it? This last position is known as our legs up the wall pose, legs up the wall. And we might be improvising with the wall. I'm going to show you how to get into it coming up onto my bookcase. But if you imagine that there's a flat wall here, you can do the same thing. One thing I did want to mention that before we come into the pose, that if you have difficulty coming into a 90-degree angle with your body, so you're back on the ground and your legs up along the wall in a 90-degree angle, if your hamstrings are that tight that they experience a big stretch in that position, which is the case for a good most of us, I want you to move your hips further away from the wall. So you don't have to get all the way up to the wall with your bottom. Moving your hips back further away from the wall can give you a little bit more of a diagonal angle for your legs to be, and so you're not going to be having a stretch happening there. It's also okay if you are doing this with a slight bend in your knees, and I'll show you that what that looks like from the couch. So coming into this, you'll sit up along whichever wall surface that you're practicing with. I'll turn my camera around a little bit more so that you can see. So whichever wall surface that you would be having here, you're going to come onto your side, and very similar to what we were doing with the twist, you'll come onto your side and instead you'll roll onto your back. My hips are all the way up against this, but if you wanted to, you could start off further away from the wall and then have your legs eventually walk their way up. Okay, and you can see how my legs come all the way up here, and I'm going to have and want to have my legs together. There is an option or a variation to have your legs spread apart, but that gives a big stretch in the thighs and the groin. So, and again, that's not what we're looking for today. And we also want to see if we can bring our feet so that they're more parallel than externally rotated. So just walk the heels in a way so that they are set up on the wall or whatever your surface that you're putting your feet up on, that they're going to feel like they're going to be more parallel. All right, so you have your options here for your arms. You can have your hands resting on belly in that downward V position. You can come into your cactus arms or even coming into your diamond shape with your hands. Okay, and coming out of the pose, just so you can see this, you're going to bend your knees and roll over to one side. So I'm going to demonstrate also what it looks like on the couch. So let me move a few things out of the way so you can see. Okay. We had a birthday party for my daughter on Sunday. We still have balloons everywhere. All right, so again, we're rolling down and I'm on the arm of the couch. So I'm on the outside of the couch, but if you are facing towards the cushions of the couch, you can do this the same way with the legs on the cushions, okay? You just might be feeling a slightly different effect of having the feet lifted all the way up. And so you can see how my legs are kind of propped up on the arm here. I have my feet up. It's okay to have your knees bent in this position as well. And you can also use your eye pillow or towel to cover up with your eyes. All right, so get into whichever position that you can. And setting yourself up. And also a little tip, if you notice that your legs and your feet feel like they're going numb or they're falling asleep, like that pins and needles sensation, and it becomes much too uncomfortable for you to manage, feel free to bend your knees and slide your feet down and just rest there until it feels like you can bring your feet back up. It does take some time, and especially if we've been on our feet for a really long time, that draining sensation can be a bit intense for us. So getting yourself a moment to kind of regroup can help out with that. So feel free to do that. And the reading for today is titled Staying Present. There's an author by the name of Pablo Neruda who said, "I am as all mortals are, unable to be patient. It is so difficult to wait, and yet nothing short of patience can give us access to the nature of wholeness. In part, this is because the mystery of life in its totality is incomprehensible, and what can be understood often speaks in a language so slow that we seldom stick around long enough to hear it." As the great Chilean poet Pablo Neruda confirms, patience is a gift that waits beneath our very human agitation. Yet only through the incredibly difficult effort of staying present will life's forces reveal to us their powers of oneness. I recently went to the ocean and listened much of the night to the surf. And the next morning, I was surprised to see that the tide had receded to reveal a cliff that had been submerged. I was now able to walk on what revealed itself out into the sea. And the water rising up around me, spraying and slapping what normally can't be seen, made me realize it is the same with our pain. For only when we can outwait the dark will the sharpness of experience recede like a tide to reveal what has survived beneath it all along. Often what seems tragic, if looked at long enough, reveals itself as a part of a larger transformation. I also remember coming upon a clearing in the woods so densely overgrown that it felt depressing, for nothing seemed capable of getting through. Something in my own makeup resembled this, and made me return there several times. But it was finally in winter, without its leaves, that this same clearing undressed itself as a magnificent bed of light that happened to be on the crest of a beautiful hill. It humbled me to realize that winter can be freeing too, and that I'm often overgrown with memories and reasons and twigs of mind that block me from the light. So often, in our agitation and impatience, we hurry off, annoyed and troubled, in search of love or peace, never imagining that where we first looked is now letting light through or sprouting its truth. It takes months for a crab apple to shake the crab and find the apple, and even longer for joy to split its human bark. Breathe deeply and center yourself in the dense woods of your heart. Go to the clearing from which you understand yourself. From there, sit beneath the many memories and reasons and feelings that have grown like leaves in your heart. Feel how the record of what you've lived through keeps the light from getting through. And without analyzing or becoming nostalgic, without thinking at all, breathe deeply and let your breath release a light blocking leaf of heart. Let your deep centered breathing be a soft wind that starts to strip your heart free. And from where you are, take a full breath in. Deep breath out. And gently slide your feet down the wall, couch or bed, with the knees tucked into your chest. If you have something covering your eyes, remove it. And slowly tip over onto one side. Take a moment here. And then gently press the hands into the floor. Make your way up to a seated position. And sitting up tall in our easy sitting position, Sukhasana. Bring your hands together to your heart center. Bow your head softly forward. The light within me bows to the light within you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, Professor.